Yo, welcome back to FordeeTV. I'm your host, Fordee. So guys, today I thought I'm working on a project that involves coins. I made a coin right quick, and I thought I'd show you how to do what I did. So here I have VLC open with the final file, and really it was just 2 seconds of the coin doing a 360, and then I brought in After Effects. I looped that composition. I added a little bit of glow. Of course, I added the Fordee bezeled down here text, and that's it, Super easy. Let me press play. I'll show you what we're going for. All right, so super cool, super clean. Obviously, we have different materials on different parts of this coin. I'm going to show you how I did that. We'll switch over here to Cinema 4D, and let's get started, baby. I'm going to come up here to my splines, and I'm going to select a circle. After I do so, I'll see over here in the properties, it is set to 200 centimeters, and that's good. Let's click on the ring, and we're going to change the inner radius to 160. I chose 160 because by the looks of this looks like a good place to be indented, because of course, we're having the center part of the coin inset. Next, by having this selected at this information, we're going to come up here and we're going to select extrude. We need to drop the circle into extrude, and now we have this, What we want to do is click on the extrude, and we want to change the object from 20 centimeters in the Z-axis. We're going to change it to 40, which is going to make this thicker. And the reason we're making it thicker is because of the inset of the other part of the coin. To make this faster, we'll come over here to the extrude. I'll click Control on my keyboard. I'll drag that down, and it's going to make a copy of what we've already created. Next, over here in the circle, I'm going to click on the secondary circle, and we're going to change the name of this. We're going to say extrude inset, right? Just so we know that this is the center, the inner coin. I'll click on the circle, and I'm going to turn off the ring. Next, I'm going to change the radius to 160, because remember, over here, we set the inner radius to 160. So if we set the radius of this to 160, then what ends up happening, and I'll show you by clicking on the check mark here, is that we are sitting perfectly inside that other ring, right? Next, we set the extrude on the first coin to 40 centimeters. So if we come over here to this extrude insert and we set this to 10, now you have to take 10 or 40 minus 10. That leaves us with 30. And why that matters, let's turn this back on. I'm going to click 3 on my keyboard and orbit around. And you're going to see that we are 30 inset right here, right? So what we want to do is we want to move in the Z-axis. We want to move, let's select this extrude 15 centimeters, right? And if we do that, which we just did, and I wrote the orbit around, you'll see now we are in the center of this. Looking perfect, right? Super easy, only a few steps, and we've already got a coin, really, right? But let's add the text in the center. I added the 40. I'm going to go ahead and do that again. I'll select both of these by clicking on the first one, holding shift, clicking on the second, pressing Option G on my keyboard, which will group them into the null, and I'll call this coin, right? Next, we need to go ahead and create a spline with some text. And when we do that, we're going to come over to the object settings of that text layer, and we're just going to type in whatever you want. You don't have to type 40. Obviously, if you do, I appreciate it. Thanks for the shout out, right? Anyway, my sense of humor, So I'm going to change the font from this I to, let's set it to impact, Impact is in your face and super easy, and bada bing, bada boom, baby. We're going to leave it at this default value of 200, but obviously you could change that. Next, we'll come up here. We're going to drop another extrude. We'll bring the text. We'll drop this in, and let's set the extrude of the text. Maybe we set it to 10 centimeters. I don't know, And the way you're going to choose this is, remember, this inner part is set to 10 centimeters in extrusion, the inset of this coin, right? And then we have a total of 30 centimeters, 15 on each side. So actually, this thing could, instead of 10, could be 15. And now it's going to be the same width as the rest of the outer portion of the coin, Next, where it is, it's sitting in the front of this, I believe, right? So if we rotate this around, it looks like it's sitting exactly where it is. And so what we can do is highlighting the extrude, then pressing shift and clicking on the coin, we can come over to tools, then go to arrange objects and click on center. Next, we want to center this on the X and the Y, right? The red and the green. So if we come over here, set the X to middle, set the Y to middle, and click on apply, this is now in the center of the coin. If we click on 3 on our keyboard, we can orbit around, and granted, there are no materials or no lights, so this is looking a little difficult to see the 40, but you can see as I orbit around, huh? And we don't need to change that just yet. Let's just keep modeling because we're about to be done, baby. So next, we're gonna click on this extrude text right here. I'm gonna press Control on my keyboard, I'm gonna click and I'm gonna drag down. Now we have a duplicate of that, right? Now, so with this duplicate selected, right, I'll come over here to my rotate tool, and we wanna rotate on this, the green, right, which is the Y. So if I come over here to rotation, and the pitch is what we're trying to rotate, and I press 180, whoops, that is the wrong one, baby. So I'll press Command Z, maybe it's not that. What are we trying to rotate? We're doing here, 180? Yeah, I guess it's the H, right? So, okay, we did that. Next, we want to change our view. I'm going to click right here, and you're going to see right in this view, in the top view, that we are sitting away from where we want to be, right? So if we do the math here, right, this text, what is it extruded? It's extruded by 15. It's sitting 15 away from the text there, that's 15. So we have to move it 15 plus another 10. So we have to move it 25 to the other side, right? So I'm going to select the move tool, and we have to move it in this direction. I'm just going to click and drag, and we're going to see it's in the Z, right? So I'll go ahead and I'll type 25 here. Oops, undo, right? And we want to make sure we are on the extrude, and we want this to come from, so I'm going to press Apple Z, and I'm going to type in, I think that was minus 25. Let's drag it again just to double check. We're coming this way. No, it's plus 25, right? It's plus 25, and actually we have the wrong one selected. Of course, yo. So I'm going to click on this. This is what we changed. We need this to be dragged over. So we are going to, and as far as centering it, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is that this is brought back. We also look, and it looks like we messed up with the other text too, right? Because you see the separation there, huh? So if we click on the other text, we will notice that this is supposed to be, let's bring this down, somewhere around here. And I think it's supposed to be at 30, right? So let's try that. Let's select the other extrude, and this one is supposed to be, I don't know. Let's rotate or orbit right here and see and double check to see how this looks, huh? So actually that looks right. So the next thing that we want to do, and we want to make sure this is flush. So let's just drag this to see, and it's somewhere about there, huh? Maybe this is supposed to be at 15 here. So I'll go ahead and press that. And on this particular extrude, let's double check, make sure it's flush. So as soon as it starts touching somewhere around there, maybe this is supposed to be 25, huh? So now it's sitting flush, that's good. I'll press 3 on my keyboard, rotate around, but one of these is probably not centered. So actually, let's just select them all. With the first one selected, I'll press Shift on my keyboard, select all of those. I'll come over here to Tools. I'll select Arrange Objects, Center, make sure X and Y is set to middle. I'll select Apply, and boom, it moved that one just over a little bit, and assumably the other one is in the center too, right? So we'll notice, of course, these are flipped, huh? So instead of saying 40, it says 0, well, like in a weird A, right? So this needs to be moved back. Let's select this, and this needs to be moved where, right? So if we look at this 25 and we drag this, undo, if we move this 40 right here, right? Which one do we have selected? Not that one, this one, this one. If we move here, which is the Z, and we move it that way, when it hits here, this is now moved, anyways, press undo. This is moving in this direction. So we want to go minus, and we want to move this, the distance of the text, and then the distance of this center piece, which is 10. The text itself is what? It is 15. We want to move this to 0, it looks like, right? So on the other one, we want to move this. If we click here, we want to move this in a, coming this way, we're going to go plus 25. I'm going to press Apple Z. I'm going to say plus 25. Right? which is the 15 of the text plus the 10 of the inset. And now this should be right. I'll press 3 on my keyboard, I'll orbit around, and excuse the mistake, but it also showed you how to fix the mistake, right? So this is looking good, right? Let's click on the first extrude. I'll press shift on my keyboard, select the last extrude, which includes the coin, huh? I'll right click, I'll come over here to select children, I'll right click again, and then I'll come down to connect objects and delete. Now I have this one coin, right? I'll press 3 on my keyboard, and this is one model altogether. Huh? So looking good. And now what you're going to notice, there are 2 selection tags here, right? If we select them, it's C1, C2. These are the faces of the coin. Huh? Now, we can make more selection tags. Let's say, or we can get rid of these and make our own selection tags, right? In fact, we want other selections. For example, this outside of the coin, huh? So I'm going to go ahead and select this outside of the coin. First, I'll make sure I'm on my selection tool. I'll press U and then L, and this brings up loop selection. Notice that I can't select this. That's because I need to select polygons. Now when I click here, I have selected all of these outside polygons on the center or the middle of this coin, huh? Now, if I go over here to select, I can select set selection. And what I do, what just happened? I just made it so that C1 is that. I'm going to press Command Z. I'm going to make sure I'm on my extrude, right? Now I'm going to do it again. And it's because probably I had the selection tag selected, which then made that selection tag be these polygons. Huh? So I'll say select. I'll say set selection. And when I do, it creates a new selection tag. I'm going to double check by clicking on this right here to make sure. And you know what? I think, well, actually it's not going to show me. So I'm going to double click and create a material. I'll double click on the material. I'll come into the color channel. I'll change this to black. Huh? And the reason I'm changing it to black is just so I can see really quickly what's happening. I'm going to drag this on the extrude. And let's change the name of extrude to coin, right? Because that's what it is. Next, with this, with the color material selected or the material selected, I can drag in selections. So if I come here and I drag and drop this C1, we'll see that C1 is actually just the Fordee on that side, and it looks like everything on this side. So let's start from scratch. Let's delete these 2, and now all I have is this black material and here this selection on the outside. I can come here and I can drag this in and boom. Now if I press Command R on my keyboard, you'll see, well, first let's rotate here. You'll see that this is now black, huh? So, okay, this selection is working. Let's label it correctly so that we know what this is. And we'll see edge of coin, maybe? I don't know. However you want to label it. Next, what we can do, and actually what we can probably do is with this selected, we can come in here and select this inner part too. I'll press 3 on my keyboard to orbit around. And maybe what we do, actually it brought this too, is we also take the sides or the extrusion of the text. So let's orbit and let's try to select that. We'll come here, we'll press shift. We'll come here, we'll press shift. We'll do the inside of this, right? So maybe something like that. We'll do the inside of this. And let's make sure I got all that. I'm pressing 3, I'm dragging, it didn't get right here, huh? So I'll come here, I'll press shift and click. And again, I'm still on the same tool. By pressing shift, I add to the selection. And now all of that's selected. I'll press 3 to orbit to the other side so we could do the same thing here. I'll press shift, click here, I'll press shift, I'll try to find something that selects that all. I'll come here, I'll press shift, and usually when you're on the corner of a vertice, right, what happens is it lets you select all. I'll press 3 and click on my mouse to orbit, and I see that it selected all the polygons that I wanted it to select, right? So with this selected, I can come over here to select and say set selection. Now what should happen when we click on this color right here, right, we can drop this in. And what's going to happen is we should get black in all those places. I'll press Command R and you'll see there's black on the inside here, etc., etc. One of the things I just realized I didn't do, and we'd have to go back to do it, is I filleted I made filleted caps on the text. We don't have that here, so I'm not going to be able to create or add another selection for that, but that's all right, right? So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have the selection tool selected. I'll click once, and now I'm going to press U-L on my keyboard, and let's make sure we have the coin selected. I want to make sure nothing else selected except the coin, huh? So, pressing 3 on my keyboard, I'm going to drag this around and boom, that's looking good. Next, I'm going to come over here to polygons and I just want to select this. Boom. Now I've selected that by itself. I'll make sure I press shift and I want to select this polygon too. So I'm looking right there. Boom. pressing shift, and where are you? There you are. Now I've got this piece and this piece selected. I'll press 3 on my keyboard to orbit to the other side. I'll press shift and I'll look for where it lets me select right there. While holding shift, I click. Same thing here. I'm looking for a part where it lets me select this inner piece. There we go. Somewhere, where were you? There you go. Bah. So now we have this face. I'll orbit to the other side to make sure it's still selected, and those faces. I'll click on select, I'll come down to set selection, and now I have this other selection tag, right? Now we only need to select the face of the Fordee on both sides, and that's it. So I'm gonna click away, select the coin, make sure the coin's selected, and I'm gonna come over here to this face. Let's select this. Come on, baby. Right there. Press shift. Now we have the Fordee here selected. Pressing 3 will orbit to the other side. I'll press shift, click here, I'll press shift, I'll find this where it lets me select it, boom, and now I have the Fordee on this side, the face, and on this side, right? We're going to come up to select, we're going to go to set selection, and boom, we have another one. We're going to change the name of this to say Fordee, face, Fordee, face, in your face. Anyways, and we'll just call this coin face, right? Two-face coin face. Anyway, so obviously it didn't have to have Fordee on both sides. It could have had whatever you wanted, right? In fact, you could have put nothing and then added a texture loading an image of an actual coin, right? And that would look totally legit. Next, we'll click on the coin. We'll select the selection tool. We'll select the model here so that we're just selecting the model. And I'm going to come over here to my contents browser. We have this black selected, but we're not going to use that. So I'm going to come to my contents browser, and in here I have some materials, and I'm going to load some of those materials. I'm going to click and drag this Chrome, bring it to the browser. I'm also going to find, I have a gold material here somewhere. Where are you, baby? Obviously, it's alphabetical order, but I'm tired. We'll come to the bottom, and I'm going to find stripes, and we're going to bring stripes in. I'm going to use these 3 materials to make this object. And actually, I'm not positive if I'm going to use Chrome. I was thinking to use Chrome. I'm going to come here and delete the black material. And I was thinking to use Chrome for the face of the Fordee. Huh? So let's drag this on top of the coin, and this applies it to the whole coin. We don't want that, right? So while this material is selected, under the selection, we want to bring in Fordee's face, right? Or Fordee face right here, right? So just verifying by clicking here, that's what this is. So I'll click back here, and I'm going to drag this tag into the selection. When I do that, now I press 3 on my keyboard. It's only applied it to the Fordee on both sides. So that's pretty cool. Next, we want to have on the edge right here and on the other edges, this stripes. So I'm going to click and bring stripes to the model, and notice it applied it to everything. We do not want that, right? So I think that was the first one, edge of coin, right? So I'll click on the stripes material, I'll drag edge of coin right here to the selection, and now it's on the edge. We only have one more left, this one in the middle, the coin face. The coin face we're going to make gold, so I'll drag gold on top of the coin and make sure I drag the secondary selector here to the selection, and boom. I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard to orbit this around. I'll press Command R on my keyboard, and this is what we're working with. Obviously, this looks all right by itself, but we need to light it. We need to give this thing some life, right? So let's do a few things. Number one, we've probably gone further than we should have without changing our render settings. So in our output, we are going to change this to 1080 by 1080. Let's say it's for Instagram. Huh? Next, 72 DPI is fine because it's going to the web. And I'm going to change the frame range from current frame to all frames. Next, we can turn on ambient occlusion by clicking on effect, going into ambient occlusion. And we want to select in our save, changing it from TIFF. I'm going to make this JPEG. I'm not worried about having a super high quality image. This is just fine. If we weren't going to render out a background or anything, you just wanted this coin, right? Then make sure you turn on the alpha channel. However, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you if you wanted to use one of the lights from Cinema 4D, you just click here and we could drag this, reposition it. We could set the intensity, let's say to 85%. I'll press Command R on my keyboard, and this is just with one light. That's what it's looking like, and that's fine, right? But we're not going to do that. I want to make this quicker. The point of this tutorial is not about lighting, so I'm going to click this light, I'm going to press delete, and I'm going to come up to my plugins. I have Light Kit Pro from Grayscale Gorilla. Totally recommend. It saves you time, especially for something like this, huh? So I'll come up to the browser and I will make sure I select, I don't know, what did I use last time? I think I came over here to product and I selected Mr. Clean, huh? Or maybe interrogation would look even cooler. So I'll select interrogation. After I double click on that, it loads it over here. I'm going to close the browser and we'll see a couple things happen, right? Right now, we are looking through this camera. If you click on here, you see that. I'll press 2 on my keyboard, I'll click and I'll drag out, and I'm zooming out. So the first thing we'll notice is this coin is just too small for our view. Also, this is a front light, right? So this front Kino flow, we could turn it on and off by clicking on this. If we select this front Kino flow and we come over here to light and we change the viewport mode to minimal, then it's still doing its thing. It's just now not like in our way, right? Next, we can do one of two things. We can either resize this light kit as a whole or resize our model. Obviously, this light kit was built for a model smaller in size, and that's fine, right? So what's important is I come over here to the coin. I'm going to change the scale, and let's drop the scale of this coin. Let's see here. What am I doing? Come on, brain, work. And I'm just gonna bring this down, maybe 50%. I don't know. So, or let's just eye it. Who cares, 50% or not? Huh? So right here, I'm gonna switch over here to my transform. I'm gonna bring this up, and what I'm looking is for this to touch, right? And obviously, we can do this perfect by changing our views. I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm now gonna press 3 on my keyboard to orbit down. Press 2 to zoom in a bit, maybe. And what we're trying to do is frame this exactly how we want it, right? And so maybe something like this. Anyway, so the only way for us to know is to press Command R on our keyboard, and let's get a preview of what it's looking like, baby. So the first thing you're gonna see is we have some serious reflections going on in our materials, yo. Let's drop those down. We don't even have to wait for this to render. I'll double click on this gold and I'll come over here to my reflectance and I'll change the default reflections from 100 to 15%. Let's really tone that bad boy down. On the chrome, we're gonna come in here to the reflectance, the default reflection, and let's put that at 60%. Let's tone that down also, right? Next, we'll press Command R again and let's see what it's looking like. So this thing is still pretty hot, huh? And of course, we have this Kino flow right here in the front. It's lighting it up like crazy on the bottom of this coin, the bottom of the chrome right there. Let's tone it down. We'll come over here to interrogation, and here under global intensity, we'll drop it from 100 to maybe 85. We'll press Command R to give it another peek and see what it's looking like. And again, I'm not looking to turn it down too much. I don't even have an exact look I'm going for. I just want to tone it down some, you know. So let me put this 75. I think that's probably where we're going to call it, baby. And then we are going to go ahead and render this out. You can see right here the change of this color is this is the area that is going to be rendered. This part of the light up here is not going to be rendered, right? It's set in the settings for it not to show up in the render. So, you know, I think that looks pretty cool, right? And granted, this is the bump or the noise that's on the coin is changing how the reflections work against the coin. And I think that's going to look pretty cool in the end, huh? Maybe we'll come into this front Kino flow and we'll drop it to 80%. Maybe just dropping it a hair more, press Command R. And again, dial this down as you see fit, right? I'm not so super worried, you know, in the end result. The idea was how to model this coin, how to do a couple things, and let's do one last thing, right? So I'm going to click to stop that render. I'm going to change my frames from 90 to 59 actually, right? So we get going 0 to 59, which is 60 frames, right? On frame 0, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make sure that I have the coin selected. Next, I'm going to click on this keyframe right here, and now we've added a keyframe at frame 0. I'm going to come over here to the last frame, frame 59. I'll make sure I have the rotation tool selected, and you know what? We're trying to rotate the H here, right? Let's set that to 360 degrees. Press enter, then click on the keyframe, and now if we scrub through our timeline, we have now created a full rotation, huh? And in the end, after scaling this down, it looks a bit thick, yo. I mean, it's all good, but when it was at its full size, I think the thickness worked better, right? In fact, maybe I scaled it down in 2 axes and not the 3rd. And that's actually what looks like happened. That's okay. We got a fat coin because fat coins are awesome, yo. Anyway, so next we have everything selected except our output path. We'll go over here to save in the file path. Let's find where we're going to save it. We're going to save it to this coin render. We'll call it coin render, press save, and now it's going to save out a series of images as JPEGs to that place that we just set. I'll go ahead and close this out. I'll press Shift R on my keyboard to open up the picture viewer. And you're going to see we've got some other things going on here because obviously the final of the first one, and then I started to do one and I said, wait a second, I didn't like that. But anyway, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to leave the video playing. I will speed this up in post. I think this is probably going to take about 25, 30 minutes to render the 60 frames, or maybe less, huh? But anyways, when that's done, I'll be back. We'll jump into After Effects. We're going to loop this animation because right now it's 60 frames at 30 frames a second, which is only 2 seconds. We're going to make it longer, and we're going to add some glow, and bada bing, we'll call it a day, baby. I'll be back. All right, so we're back, yo, and yeah, 45 minutes. You know, thinking back a few things on the first render, number one, there was black area right here. I mean, there's a little bit on the bottom, but that black area obviously takes no time to render. And yeah, so of course, I should have probably rendered this without the cyc. We didn't really need the cyclorama in the background, and it would have been a lot faster. Granted, you are not going to experience how long it took, but this tutorial is taking a little longer than I expected, yo. So I've thought about a few things. Let's jump in here, and you can see I don't like the way the chrome looks on the face, but it is what it is. I didn't spend that much time setting it up. Let's just jump over into After Effects. I'm going to double click here in the empty space. I'm going to find frame, the first one of this thing. And you know what? I'm going to come down here to, well, actually, I'm sorry. Select the first one and just select Create Composition, Import JPEG Sequence, select Open. After I do that, you'll see it created a composition. If I'm in here and I scroll through, we'll see my coin turning, right? One of the things I thought about is I set the rotation to be 360 degrees. And in reality, that means that there is an extra, like this is frame 0. This last frame over here, frame should be the one that should be frame 0, right? So, but that's fine, doesn't matter. What we're gonna do is we're gonna right click here, say new composition, and let's make this one 3 seconds. This current one is 2 seconds. We're gonna make this one 3 seconds. I'll say 0.3, I'll say okay. This is 1080 by 1080, perfect, 30 frames per second, because that was our project. I'll say okay. Next, I'm gonna drop this coin render in here, and now we have it, and it's 2 seconds long. Right? I'm going to right click here and I'm going to go to time and I'm going to say enable time remapping. It creates a keyframe here in the beginning, a keyframe in the end. I'm going to come over here to 1 second and I'm going to say we're going to go ahead and just set a keyframe, right? And now what I'd like to do is I'd like to drag this keyframe out right here to come to the last portion, and it should still animate through if we go ahead and drag this out, right? So if we have this like this, now what's going to happen is the first part's going to go quick, and then it's going to slow down for this last 180-degree turn. So I'll go ahead and press spacebar. And exactly what we wanted, huh? So then next, what I'd like to do is right click on this and go to pre-compose. And we're doing that because we're gonna do another time remap. In fact, we're also gonna change the length of this composition, comp 1. We're gonna double right click on this, we're gonna go to composition settings, and we're gonna call this final. Also, I'll switch this from 3 seconds, and I could have done this in the beginning. Let's set it to be 15, so that's 5 rotations. I'll say okay, right? Next over here, I'm going to zoom out by clicking this, and I'll notice that this is 3 seconds long, but I want it to be 15 seconds long. So how do we do that? We're going to right click on our composition, go to time, select enable time remapping, right? And it's not letting me do that, huh? Maybe I have to do that again, huh? I'll press Command Z, and I'll come over here to the 3 second mark, right? I'll press N. I'll make sure I'm at the last frame, and really the last frame is right there. I'll say composition, trim comp to work area, and we'll right click on this, we'll change it from final, and we're gonna call this almost final. Next, I'll right click here, new composition, we'll call this final. Obviously, I could have done this a different way, whatever, I screwed up. I'm tired, yo. We're gonna set it to 15 seconds, drop it here, and we're gonna take almost final, we're gonna drop it in. You'll notice it's 3 seconds long. I'll right click over here, say time, enable time remapping, and now what I wanna do is create an expression. I'm gonna press Option on my keyboard or Alt and click on the stopwatch, right? It allows me to type in an expression. And what I wanna type here is loop, all lowercase, then out with O being uppercase, a parentheses, and then I'm going to say type equals, in quotations, cycle, end quotation, comma, and then I'm going to say num, and then I'm going to say key frames, and then I'm going to say equals 0, and then end parentheses. Whoops. Yeah, exactly, just one. Anyway, and then when I click away from here, what this is saying is I want you to cycle this, and doesn't matter how many keyframes it is, just make it keep going, you know? And so now if I come here, I could drag this out to be the length of the comp, and now if I play in the timeline, this puppy is just gonna loop that same 30 whatever seconds, huh? When it gets to the end right here, I don't know what's going on, but let's zoom in a bit, and let's see, huh? Why is this happening at the end, huh? So, what are we going to do here to fix that? Maybe let's just drop it down to be 12 seconds. I'm too tired to even, like, troubleshoot stuff, man. I'm tired, yo. Anyways, we'll come up to composition, trim comp to work area. We've got a 12-second comp, even though I said 15. Whatever. Next, we can close it or minimize that. We'll click on the effects and controls, right, and we want to make sure that we are in the final, right? So in the final, with this here loaded, and we want to make sure we're looking at final, we're going to come up, and why are you not showing, baby? Ah, because we were past our time range. This is how tired I am, yo. I'm just going to type in glow, and we're going to find under stylized glow, and I'm going to drop this on almost final. And then what we could do, if we drop this threshold, it says let more things or let less bright things make this blow kick up, huh? But really, let's set this to about 80, right? And that's saying just the bright stuff, and maybe even 85, so even the more bright stuff, right? Let's set this to 1.5 for the intensity, and let's put the radius to be like 8 or something. Let's turn this on and off just to see what it's doing, and it's kicking up that gold in there, the bottom of the chrome. Let's go ahead and press play and see what's going down, right? So it's looking cool. It's definitely not playing back in full speed, and that's fine, right? I'm going to right click over here. I'm going to say new. I'm going to say text, and in the text, in the empty text layer, I'm going to go ahead and click, and I'm going to type in FordeeTV.com, yo, my website. And I'm going to make sure that I have the selection tool. I'm going to move this down, bring this right about here, and then next thing that I'll do is, we'll leave it like that, and we'll come up to the effects and presets, and let's add a drop shadow, right? So we'll drop the drop shadow on top of the text, boom, and let's make the distance be a bit more, maybe something, I don't know, what's going on here? Why am I having mouse issues? Let's make it 9, I don't know, right? Next, double click over here, and we're gonna type in the word emboss, and this is a 16-bit effect, and we go back to our project, we're set at 32, so this is gonna give us a little like, hey, this is not going to give you the full resolution error, whatever. It's fine, huh? I'm not worried about that. Next, in the relief, let's bump this up a little bit, maybe set this to 3. And that looks pretty cool, right? Next, if we press T on our keyboard while having the text layer selected, we could drop the opacity of this maybe to 80%, and that is looking all right. Next, if I select it and I come over here to the align, I could say, put this puppy in the middle, baby. And yeah, so that's looking all right. Next, I'll click on almost final, and if we scale this puppy up, right? So if I press S on my keyboard, I can bring up the scale. I can just bump this up to get rid of the black on the bottom, huh? Let's say I didn't want that. And somewhere, I don't know, leaving like this little shadow in the bottom, which I think is kind of cool. Let's just say it's right there, huh? So if I like this, I can come up here to composition, and I could do other things, huh? If I didn't render the psych out, I could have just used this object with an alpha background and dropped it wherever I wanted without creating a 3D model to then import using Element 3D or whatever, right? So we would come up to composition, say add to render queue, set our render settings, and we'd render it out. That's not the point of this tutorial, so I'm going to stop here. Guys, I hope you liked this tutorial. If you found it helpful, please share it with your friends, huh? It does mean the world to me. Also, like, subscribe, etc. You know the deal. Leave a comment if you recreate the effect or you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer it as long as it's posted relatively when the video is uploaded, huh? Until next time, I'm out.